Welcome to You're Not Actually a Leader Yet, the podcast where I bridge the gap between the person you are today and the leader you're meant to be. My name is Cassie Adkins, your lovingly honest leadership coach. I have an extra special guest for you all today, Maximus Greenwald. Maximus is the founder and CEO of Warmly. Warmly is a sales tech solution that helps you get more warm leads. And they're a Series A company who's been around for about 5 years, most famous for having pivoted 7 times. Maximus has been building his unicorn in public, the good, the bad, and everything in between. You're not going to want to miss Maximus share his journey from a super naive 24-year-old to an ever-learning 29-year-old today. Stick around to the end where you're going to find out all about purple cows and a surprise rap by Maximus. Shh, he doesn't know yet. Hello, Maximus. Welcome to You're Not Actually a Leader Yet. Thank you so much for joining me today.
So good to be here. And I think this podcast is very aptly named.
It's a little spicy. It's a little sassy. And I thought, what better? Are you there?
We'll have a great time today. I'm looking forward to it.
So, Maximus, first off, congratulations to Warmly for the acquisition of Magnify. Such fantastic news.
Thank you. We're really excited to have them on board. And it's a really interesting process to go through a real acquisition. And I have no doubt that the new team members joining us are going to make a big splash real quick.
I love that. I love that. So thinking of splashes, you on LinkedIn are very vocal with your going clear and sharing with the world, building the next unicorn in public. First off, I'm a huge fan. I love them. They bring me so much joy because they are just so real. And I know you've gotten a little flack here and there about, tone it down, but I think you're a lot like me and we don't really do tone down. So, it's so refreshing though. It's so refreshing. I would love today to really pick your brain about your leadership journey with Warmly and the multiple hats that at any given moment as a founder CEO you have to wear.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Cassie, I did lose you for a moment there in the last question. Will you repeat the question?
Yes. I was just saying that I would love to hear you talk about your journey as growing as a leader there at Warmly and the kind of the challenges of wearing multiple different hats.
Yeah, awesome. Well, to kind of start at the end for a second, in the last 4 months, I've started posting every day on LinkedIn to try to categorize or catalog my journey as a founder and CEO more publicly. And the reason I want to do that is because I think that most people can learn from my mistakes and my musings as I go through it. And oftentimes, instead of having to look back and be like, I learned these many lessons, it's like, let me learn them on the fly with people in public and get feedback and advice and growth. And what's really cool about this has been a lot of people have reached out and said, hey, I want to help you grow in your journey as a leader. And it's actually sped up my ability to grow. And so it's been kind of cool to see that sort of cyclical nature. So that's kind of going all the way to the end. But bringing ourselves all the way back to the beginning, Max, a 24-year-old kid working at Google and who kind of got this big dream to start a business and quit and went off into the world and realized that he certainly was not a leader yet. And so I'm happy to dive into any of the parts along the way. But I think that's where our story can begin.
So what did you think the journey for the first few months was going to be like after you quit? And what helped you realize, oh my God, I'm in over my head?
I think that the sort of Silicon Valley nature, and again, I was in California and San Francisco, but the Silicon Valley sort of dream, the venture capital sort of megaphone of anybody can start a company, anybody can be the next Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, gets into your mind and your brain. And so you have these moments where you're like, I can be the next big thing. And you're nervous about it. You don't know if it's going to work out, but you take that leap believing that that's going to be the case. And then you get hit in the face with the sledgehammer. And I do mean a metaphorical one, but honestly, I think it'd be almost nicer to be hit in the face with a physical sledgehammer than the like mental smacking that you end up getting when you start to build a business for the first time. And I think that the biggest sort of whoa moment for me was when I went to a party a few weeks into starting this journey, and I get pulled aside by someone who's like, "Oh, I hear you're starting a company. I'm so excited for you. Like, what's the company going to do?" And I just froze, and I was like, "I don't really know yet, and I think I have this one idea that I'm working on." And they were like, "Oh, but there's 10 other people who've done that idea, and like that doesn't make any sense, and that's not a real business or a real problem." And then I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm still thinking about it." And so it's like when push comes to shove and you have to, the concept of build a business is awesome, but then the practicality of being able to look somebody in the eye and say, here's a big problem with the world, here's how I'm going to solve it and make money doing it in the process is so much more difficult to figure out than I expected.
So was it just you? Did you have people, any advisors? I mean, had you gotten to any point where it wasn't just your brain running the show?
Yeah, so I think actually the first and dumbest pivot Warmly ever did was building Tinder for co-founders. And so our first pivot or first solution was I wanted to find co-founders to join me on the journey. And so I like paid some friends to build a swipey app where you could like swipe on various co-founders. And like 4 weeks into the service, there were 4 people on the platform and I didn't want to co-found with any of them. And I realized that like this is not a good idea and it's not going anywhere. And so the notion to find somebody took hold, but it wasn't going to be through my dumb app. I ended up actually convincing one of my coworkers and now co-founders, Karina, to leave Google and join me, as well as my co-founder, Alan, who we met in a like early stage startup kind of program. So eventually I was able to convince some people to join me. But I feel like I went about this in a very weird, roundabout, really wrong way. Like before I even had an idea, a problem, a business at all, I was trying to like raise money and get advisors. And like I was talking to the most random people and I was like, I'm starting a thing. I have no idea what it is, but I'd love to count you as an advisor. And they were like, okay, like I'll advise you on the nothing you have. And then with investors, I'd be like, I'm going to build something huge. Like, give me $1 million. And they'd be like, no, like you don't have anything. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fair. But I felt like unless I got the validation from other people, they wanted to join me, then I would never succeed. And really for me, this just like comes from a childhood trauma of mine of like really wanting to people please and wanting people to like me. And so it was super like, I wasn't even caring about customers or a business or code or anything. I was just like, if I'm taking this leap and telling everybody that I'm starting a company, I need the validation that people still love me and want to spend time with me and care about me. And so I spent a lot of time in the early days trying to get the fundraising and advisors. And luckily my co-founders was a good decision because they actually helped me build the business. But yeah.
Wow. And to think of the posts that you do now and how open and raw and not people pleasing driven. That's incredible in and of itself.
I think in some sense it's still people pleasing driven. I mean, I am honest and vulnerable and raw about it because I want people to like the real me. I can certainly take the flack, a couple of haters in my direct messages on LinkedIn or in the comments or whatever. But, in some sense, I'm seeking what all human beings want, which is confirmation that you're doing the right thing with your life and that you're, making a difference. You're doing something that matters in the world.
Yes. Yes. So you now have co-founders and an idea. How did that change everything for you?
Well, we ended up pivoting 5 or 6 times before we landed on what we have now, which is a product that's working, a product market fit that's growing. But at each iteration, I think about it in terms of the milestones of each pivot, but I learned a lot about myself as a leader, as a manager of people, as a founder. And what's so cool about the first time founding journey is that it's never linear. It's always incredibly windy. You take giant detours, and 99.9% of the shit you do doesn't matter and won't move the business forward. However, you have to go through it to learn all the lessons so that when you're ready, when the right idea hits you, you can get it going like that. And a lot of people will tell me, how the heck in the business we're in now did we grow from 0 to $1 million in revenue in just 1 year? And the answer is we fucked it up 5 times previously. And I had to learn a series of very hard lessons around business, product, relationships, co-founders, management, leadership, what you name it, and go through all that nonsense to internalize the lessons and see and understand the space that I work in, which is the sales tech space, to be able to navigate effectively and say, when the right thing hit, I know exactly how to get this to success and not have to go through the difficulty of, oh God, I've never fired somebody before. I'm going to spend 6 weeks ruminating on it, not sleeping well, talking to lawyers and HR people to make sure I do it appropriately. Now I'm just like, oh, like I've done this 10 times before. I'm going to get it done in 30 seconds, and then I'm going to move on to the next big problem to face.
You mentioned leader, CEO, people manager, founder, all of these different titles, Maximus. What is your favorite of those hats to wear? And what is it like to have to change those hats so often?
Good question on my favorite hat. I think my favorite hat is junior salesperson.
Okay.
I love sales and I love selling. Well, I mean, the job that I'm in is one of selling. And actually, maybe a better phrase is like storytelling. So I always say that like being a founder and CEO is an art to become the best storyteller in the world. And your goal is to essentially be able to tell the right stories to founders, other founders, get co-founders, investors, customers, employees. And you're telling your story over and over again and perfecting that art of communicating effectively how you're going to change the world and rallying everyone to do it with you. And storytelling is sales. And so I love getting on a call with a prospective customer, telling them about the value we add and selling them. So my favorite hat to wear is one that I wear very infrequently now, just due to the nature of the business, but is like boots on the ground selling people. But to like even explain the concept of hats to the listeners, like you wear so many hats when you're in a startup, and each hat is a job and a role that has a different responsibility, that has a different way you're supposed to act. And eventually your job is to hire yourself out of all of your hats. So every hat that I wore, which on day one of the company was all of them, I then hired away for software engineer because I can't code for shit, hired away for head of sales, hired away for junior salesperson, hired away for business operations, etc. So I've delegated away or hired away all my hats. And I think a dream is to be so successful at hiring that I've hired myself out of all the hats, and I can just be, I don't know, sitting on a beach somewhere with a Mai Tai, knowing that like the company is going to be successful. I never do that because I'm way too like, neurotic and want to be involved and get, solve problems, etc. But so there's many hats you wear, and the hats evolve over the course of the business. And I think there's just like a really, really big shift founders need to go through from ground level executor, independent contributor who's tactically doing stuff day to day, to manager, coaching around goals and objectives and metrics to hit for those independent contributors who are actually executing, and then becoming a manager of managers where you're coaching the people who are coaching the people on the ground. And you have to be careful not directly reaching out to people on the ground because you're skipping the authority of the manager. And so that's a pretty like, that's been my big leap this past year, is learning how to be a manager of managers. But I think in the last 5 years, I've gone through this just evolution of learn to do all the things, hire people to do all the things and learn how to manage them, and then learn how to manage the managers. And each stage is another sledgehammer to the face because you mess it up a lot. And honestly, I'm just going to read you verbatim my 360 report from my direct reports, the people on my team who report to me and our managers. And these are some of the like negative things they said about me, or things I could improve, let's say, like 3 weeks ago. So they said, Maximus sends you off on one idea, but then has different ideas before the first one can be finished, and that's frustrating. He trusts outside opinions more than insider opinions. He doesn't have a framework for which decisions he should or shouldn't be involved in. He has metrics for us to hit, but he picks too many of them. And the vision for where the company's going changes monthly as he's learning, and that's frustrating to follow. And the last one is he tracks efficiency per department, but not between departments. And so these are just examples of like where I need to improve as a leader, as a manager of managers. Like, and I'm feeling pretty good about being an independent contributor executor. I'm feeling pretty good about being a manager, but I am still working pretty hard at being better at being a manager of managers.
That, first off, thank you. How incredibly vulnerable to share those bits of feedback. But all I can think about as you're reading those is how incredible it is that the people that you work with are willing to give you that feedback. It's not like you work with 100 different people. You likely know who gave you what feedback. And when there's a culture that doesn't let people feel open and safe, you're never going to get the level of feedback that you just got to make the improvements you need to make.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a huge win in all regards, because people that don't want to give feedback, it's because of a toxic environment. And the psychological safety that you have clearly provided to the people closest to you to feel comfortable enough to say, like, hey, it's so frustrating, X, Y, and Z. It's just a beautiful thing, Maximus, truly.
I appreciate that. I think it's, I don't really know any other way. I feel like one of the things that I realized early on helped me raise a lot of money in fundraising, but also is true to the nature of who I am, is to be really coachable. And so I would tell VCs I was talking to, because it's true, I don't know jack shit. Like, I'm just a first-time founder. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I can learn really fast, and I'm very coachable. So if you tell me how to do something, my commitment to you is that I will learn how to do it faster than anybody else, and I'll get it done, and I'll do it, with integrity, grace, and quickly. And so I noticed that instead of, the investor, what they said is, what makes you qualified to run a company? Instead of lying about it or trying to impress them with X, Y, or Z qualification, my response was, I don't know how to run a company, and I'm looking for somebody who can coach me. And so I've always had this attitude of, I don't know anything and I need to learn everything I can, so help me. And I think I exude that across the company to our leadership team and to our whole company when I say, I'm not very good at being a manager of managers. How can you expect that of me? I'm 29 and I've never started a business before. Like, I don't think anyone can expect me to be amazing. And so instead of pretending that, I'm going to be super open and say, please give me feedback on how I can be better. I'm not going to fire you for giving me negative feedback. So I certainly appreciate it and ask for it.
Yes. Too often people are told by their CEO, I want feedback. I want feedback. Please tell me all the things. It's lip service. They don't mean it. And it's toxic. And so it's so refreshing. I see your smile, but no, it is the antithesis of how you just described, right? There's a lack of humility. There's a lack of vulnerability, of openness, or you can hear the hollowness in, I want feedback. I want to grow. Because as soon as that feedback is given and you see that founder, that CEO do zero with it, you learn real quickly that there was no point in that. And then it really goes downhill from there. So beautifully done. Beautifully
I guess,
done.
have you worked in places before where you have been in an environment where feedback was not easy to get or give?
I am an incredibly honest, open human, and I have learned the hard way that unsolicited feedback is rarely ever actually wanted, that people that genuinely want feedback will solicit it. And I have learned an open door to provide feedback typically has not actually been a real invitation to feedback. And I've always done it anyway because I fall back on well, hey, you said that if anybody had any questions, here's my question. But really, it turns out it was I just said, if anyone have any questions, I expected silence. And it's unfortunate. I have been very guilty of asking the question that is on everyone's mind and literally getting text messages during team meetings saying, shut up, you're going to get fired. And I'm like, I'm being polite. I'm being respectful. I'm asking a question based on the information given after being asked, does anyone have any questions? Seemed fair. And I have reached a stage in my life where I do not want to work anywhere where I have to worry that I'm going to get fired or penalized for asking a question when questions are asked if we have any. I would much rather be unemployed than silenced. And I refuse. And everyone that knows me knows that about me. So if they ask me my opinion, it's because they actually really want it. Otherwise, they just say, Cassie, I don't want to hear it. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I just, I'm 36. So a few years, you're senior, Maximus, but there have been so many things in life, so many ways that I have grown as a human, as a leader, as an employee, as just a person, and into who I really want to be and what I want to stand for and what I want to stand against. And I refused to allow myself to be sucked into the toxicity of walking on eggshells or not giving the feedback that was asked for or any of the anything of that nature. And has it bit me in the butt? Absolutely. Time and time again. And it actually reminds me of have you ever heard of this story? And I'm going to slaughter it for everyone listening, but it's of the man with the snake in the fire.
No.
Okay. So this man somehow, I don't know how, because like I said, I'm going to slaughter it. He sees this campfire and there's a snake in it burning to death. So he reaches in for the snake. The snake bites him. He drops the snake back into the fire on accident from the bite. He reaches back into the fire, gets bit again, drops the snake. Third time, he grabs the snake and just throws it as it's biting him so that it doesn't land in the fire. The guy with him says, "What the hell are you doing? Why? You knew that snake was going to bite you. You let him do it 3 times." And his response was, "It is in the snake's nature to bite. It is in my nature to help. I'm not going to let the snake's nature change my nature." And it just sticks with me. It's so hard to not let other people's stuff interfere with who we really are. And I just believe in being the guy sticking his hand in the fire, getting the snake, regardless of, have I gotten bit? A lot of whole times, but I'm going to keep doing it because it's who I am.
I like it. That's a great story and a great lesson.
Yeah. So what would you stick your hand in the fire for?
I think what I stand for is letting people chase things that give them energy. And at Warmly, we have like a roadmap, a prioritized list of things we want to do. It's like, here's our vision. We want to build this, 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 and this. And every once in a while, I'll notice that one of the people on my team is really passionate about project number 7 on the list. And we got to get done 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, but they just love number 7. And I guess a mentor of mine once told me that like you should basically take speed boosts when they're available to you. And when somebody's really passionate about a project, you can pull them aside and say, look, we're not going to get to this for a while, but I will flip the order and let you take this on now because I can tell you're excited about it, but I expect you to deliver really amazing results super fast. And I've noticed that people will work nights and weekends to just crush and really take ownership of the success of a project. And I think that's like a really wonderful speed boost. And so even though it's thing number 7 on the list, getting it done in a third the time with twice the passion makes it twice as successful. And so I like to give people on my team the ability to chase their speed boosts.
I love that. I love that because when things are done with passion and motivation, the output is so much better. All right. So I have one final question. Why do you want to be a purple cow?
So The Purple Cow is a really good marketing book that I encourage everyone to read by Seth Godin. And it's a book where the headline is basically being unique and different from everybody else will help you win. And it's done in the more marketing context where it's like, you got to stand out from every other cereal brand or, table store or whatever. But in the context that I think about it, I see in the sort of SaaS space a lot of competition, et cetera. And I believe strongly that if on a compounded basis, week over week, we're always doing something a little bit different, a little bit weird, a little bit outside the norm, we'll be successful at being a purple cow. And the story in The Purple Cow goes like this. You go with a farmer to a field and you see 100 cows and one of them is purple. And the farmer says, you can have any cow you want. Which one do you want? 9 times out of 10, you pick the purple one. And you don't really know why. Like the meat is probably disgusting. The milk probably tastes horrible. And it might have a disease because it's freaking purple. Like, why would you? That's disgusting, right? It's purple. And yet you choose it every time. And you're like, why? And it's like, well, it's different. And so it's like, you're really not choosing between 100 cows. You're choosing between 99 normal cows and 1 purple cow. And okay, do I want normal or do I want purple? And I'll take purple. And so by creating your own category in software, which is something that Warmly does, we created this category of essentially autonomous revenue orchestration. By being different than everyone else, we literally have a comma in our name. So one of our purple cow moves is like Warmly ends in a comma. And it's like WARMLY, comma. And it's like, why is there a comma? And it's like, no reason. I mean, it's like a sign off, but like, it's just different than everybody else. And once you hear that, and once you know that, you never forget it. And so that's where we are standing out and being different. So I believe that, again, on a compounded basis, if everyone on your team is constantly thinking about how can we be different than everybody else, different, not better, will win overall.
I love that. I love that. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot. As someone who is a proclaimed lover of freestyle rap, Maximus, you're on.
Yeah. All right. You got to give me 2 topics to weave into my rap.
2 topics. Okay.
I can put hats in there if you want, but choose whatever you like.
Hats, and cows.
Hats and cows. Okay. Let's see. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to do it a cappella, meaning without a beat, but maybe you can superimpose some sort of like beat on top of it.
I'm musically terrible, so I'll have the podcast guys fix you up.
All right. I like it. All right. Yo, I'm hanging here with Cassie. We doing a podcast. We're having a lot of fun. It's a real blast. We're talking about all the things that go on your head. I rap with no beat because I can do it without dread. Yeah, you know that I be rhyming, keeping to the beat. Yeah, I'm trying to eat something good. Grass-fed, it's beef. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to lay it down now. Yeah, you know I'm trying to be purple. It's because I'm a mother freaking cow. See, I don't swear when I be rapping real fast. I know that I be doing it. It's going real crass. Yeah, but okay, I'll keep it PG, maybe 13. Yeah, you know that I be rapping good because you know that I'm mean. See, I got to bring it back. And I got two things in my house. It's my mom and my cat. Yeah, you know I hanging out with my parents. It's real good, but I'm just putting on many hats. See, I can be a son sometimes, or I can be a leader of a company. Yeah, you know I'm gonna shout real good, hit it up with glee. It's a great day. We're having fun recording together. Yeah, okay, I'll leave it here because you know I can't do much better.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. Maximus, thank you so much. If there is one thing that you would like the listeners to do today, what would you like them to do for you?
I guess it is have a transparent, open, and honest day at work, which would basically be find one way to tell a truth, share your truth with somebody else, whether it's feedback, praise, criticism, or maybe just look introspectively and figure out, hey, how can I face, a problem that I'm going through, and do it with openness, honesty, and transparency.
That is so incredible. Here I was expecting you to say, go to warmly and send them that way, and you give insightful advice. I love it. Would you like them to go and check out Warmly?
Yeah, we'd certainly appreciate it. If you want more sales, want to increase your pipeline and have us automate your email, chat, and LinkedIn outbound, we definitely check out warmly.ai, and we have a free tier, so you can check it out for free.
I mean, if I have to be honest, Maximus, who needs more pipeline these days? It's running rampant, isn't it?
Yeah. People want less sales. Yeah, sales sucks.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
And if you want a good laugh, you can check out our alter ego company. Go to coldly.ai to learn about what not to do when reaching out for pipeline.
Love it. As always, if you enjoyed today's show and found the content helpful, please leave me a 5-star review wherever you listen. Until next time, keep leading with transparency and care.